video is going to talk about dividing by fractions. But before we talk about that, let's talk about how to multiply fractions. We know that to multiply fractions, we multiply across the top. That's the answer for the numerator, and we multiply across the bottom. That's the answer for the denominator. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. We keep the top on the top and the bottom on the bottom. Remember that when the numerator and the denominator are equal, that fraction is equal to 1. Because if it takes 5 parts to make a whole, and I have 5 parts, guess what? That's the whole thing. That's all I need. Try multiplying these numbers. 3 times 4, 4 times 3. That's going to be 12 over 12. 2 times 7, 7 times 2. That's going to be 14 over 14. 3 times 8, 8 times 3. That's going to be 24 over 24. 4 times 9, 9 times 4. That's going to be 36 over 36. A fraction multiplied by its upside down version. Take a moment and notice how all of these are the upside down versions of each other. A fraction multiplied by its upside down version is always going to be 1 because the same numbers you multiply to get the numerator are the numbers that you multiply to get the denominator. So first of all, the upside down version is called the reciprocal. And when we find, let's say we have the 2/3, if I multiply 2/3 by its reciprocal, so 2/3 flip-flopped is 3 over 2, 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 6. We have a whole number that's equal to 1. You can write a number of division equations from this. You can write 6 divided by 3 equals 2. You can write 6 divided by 2 equals 3. They want you to write 2 division equations from the multiplication. So remember that over here, 6 was the number that was equaled. So you see the 6 here? And then we had the 2, which was either what was equaled or what was being divided by. So let's write division equations from this. 1, the number that is being equaled, 1 divided by 3/4 equals 4/3. Or 1 divided by 4/3 equals 3/4. There is no way I'm going to have enough room to write all of this neatly. When you divide a fraction by 1, proper or improper, it doesn't matter, you're always going to get this fraction turned upside down. 1 divided by 2/3 is going to be 3/2. 1 divided by 56 over 19 is going to be 19 over 56, because 56 over 19 times 19 over 56 is going to equal 1. So they want you to do the division here. 1 divided by 3/5 is going to be 5/3. You try the rest of them. Welcome back. 1 divided by 5/6 is going to be 6/5. 1 divided by 9/2 is going to be 2/9. 1 divided by 76 over 281 is going to be 281 over 76. How does 1 1/5 compare to 1 2/5? Well, if I want 1 divided by 1/5, 1 divided into 1/5 means I'll have 5 here. If I divide it into 2/5, that means I have 2 wholes and half of another, 2 1/2. Another way to look at this would be saying 5 halves, but we'll get to that in a minute. If we know how many of any object fit into 1, then twice as many fit into 2. 3 times as many fit into 3. So if we know 1 divided by 3/5 equals 5/3, that means that 4 divided by 3/5 equals 4 times 5/3. So let's try this. Let's divide 1 divided by 3/7. 1 divided by 3/7 is going to be 7 over 3. What happens if we have 5 of these? Well, if I have 5 of these, then let's go ahead, let's look back here. That's going to be 4 over here. When we had 4, we multiply 4 times the answer. So down here, 5 divided by 3/7 would be 5 times 7/3. 5 times the answer to 1 divided by 3/7. 1 divided by 5/4 is 4/5. So 3 divided by 5/4 is the same as saying 3 times 4/5. What you might notice here is that we're doing something called multiply the reciprocal. This is a strategy that is used when you are dividing by fractions. So the first thing you need is, essentially, you need a fraction for the first one. We're not actually going to be doing the multiplication right now, but we're going to see that this 8 stays what it is, but we're going to put it into a fraction form. So 8 turns into 8 over 1. Then we're going to change the division sign to multiplication. And then that 3/4, we're going to find the flip-flop, the reciprocal, for 4/3. And if we want to right now, we could multiply and take care of this. 8 times 4 is 24. 1 times 3 is 3. 8 divided by 3/4 is 24/3. Now, does that make a nice number? You know what? It shouldn't, because hopefully you're paying attention. 8 times 4 is not 24. 8 times 4 is indeed 32. Does that make a nice even fraction? As a mixed number? No. But we know that 3 goes into 32, 3 goes into 30 exactly 10 times, with 2 left over. So let's just look at what multiply the reciprocal looks like for the rest of this. We're not going to solve the rest of these. 9 divided by 2/3 becomes 9 over 1 times 3 over 2. You can see that we flip-flopped. We multiplied the reciprocal. Let's multiply the reciprocal for letter E. That becomes 7 over 1 times 3 over 5. Letter F becomes 6 over 1 times 5 over 4. Bonus becomes 30 over 1 times 200 over 7. So remember that if you know how many of any object fit into 1, then 3/4 as many will fit into 3/4. So if I have 1 divided by 2/5 equals 5 over 2, that means 3/4 divided by 2/5 equals 3/4 times 5 over 2. Kids, this is where they're multiplying the reciprocal. 3/4 stays the same. The division sign turns into multiplication. And 2/5 turns into its flip-flop, 5 over 2. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. That's our answer. You can turn 15 over 8 into 1 7/8, and that would be the most proper answer. So take a look at these and figure out what fraction should be in that question mark. What fraction should be there? You always flip-flop the second fraction. So for letter A, 3/8 divided by 2/7 means the same thing as 3/8 times 7/2. For letter B, 4/3 divided by 5/6 means the same as 4/3 times 6/5. For letter C, 5/9 divided by 3/8 means the same as 5/9 times 8/3. All they're doing is flip-flopping the second fraction. I like to put it down below, they put it next to. No big deal. So they want you to multiply these fractions. I'm pretty sure we did not do that one yet. Yes, we did. We're good. So now they want you to divide. So you're going to go ahead here and you're going to divide and you're going to actually get the answer. So remember to multiply the reciprocal first. And then let's go ahead and get the full answer. Just to help out, I'm going to write on here ever so neatly, multiply the reciprocal. Nope. The reciprocal. reciprocal, if you can't, read that writing. All right, go ahead and pause, come back, do the whole thing. Welcome back. So, 3/5 divided by 7/4 becomes 3/5 times 4/7. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 times 7 is 35. 3/2 divided by 5/8. The 3/2, that first number stays the same. Change the division to multiplication. That's 3/2 times 8/5 because you find the flip-flop of the second fraction. 3 times 8 is 24. 2 times 5 is 10. 3/2 divided by 4/9 becomes 3/2 times 9/4. 3 times 9 is 27. 2 times 4 is 8. And for our last one, 6/7 divided by 7/4. The 6/7 stays the same. The division sign turns into multiplication, and 7/4 becomes 4/7. 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 7 is 49. Now, take a look at these questions. These are the same because these two fractions mean the same thing. Which one is easier to work with? The improper fraction. You have less things to worry about. Here you have a whole number and a fraction divided by. Here you just have an improper fraction. So we always want to make sure that we are using an improper fraction instead of a mixed number. So let's change the mixed numbers to improper fractions and then divide. I'm going to do two of these. I'm going to do letter A and I'm going to do letter D for examples. So 1 3/4, 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7. So that becomes 7/4. The divided by 2/5 becomes times 5/2. 7 times 5 is 35. 4 times 2 is 8. For letter D, we have two mixed numbers. So let's change those. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is going to be 11/3. I'm going to keep this as division because I have to change something else, and that's a lot to change all at once. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. That's 10/9. So when I go to solve this, it's going to be 11/3 times 9/10. Or 99 over 30. Remember that when the question asks you to divide mixed numbers, it means the answer should be written as a mixed number as well. So this is where we're going to go back and we're going to check and make sure. Did we write these as mixed numbers? No, we wrote them as improper fractions, so we should probably adjust that. 35 eighths means 35 divided by 8. And I know that 8 times 4 is 32. Not going to forget that one for a minute. Which means there's going to be 4 wholes and 32, 33, 34, 35, and 3/8 left. 99 over 30. I know that 30 times 3 is 90, so that's 3 wholes and 9 over 30. Not quite sure how I did that. Let's do the division. Let's make the L and put it into a division box. 30 goes into 99. I know that 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 times 30 is 90. And that leaves us with 9 left. That 9 goes way up into the numerator, and the bottom number stays the same, 30. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.